This is Raghav Chadha, who posted something on his Instagram account on April 6, 2026 that mentioned the first rule of this book, Maha. It might look like a normal post to you, but there was a huge political controversy hidden behind it. Actually, a while ago, Raghav Chadha used to talk about common public issues like samosas and mobile recharges in his speeches, which was making him go quite viral on social media. But perhaps his own party couldn't digest this popularity and he began to be sidelined, and perhaps pointing to this, he made that post on Instagram. But what was the real meaning of this post? Look, the rule mentioned in this post simply means do not try to appear more highlighted or smarter than your boss or those above you. Otherwise, they might become insecure and end your career, and something like that happened. Just a few days after this post, he joined the BJP. However, it later turned out that the matter was something else entirely. We won't talk about the BJP and you here because you already know that story, but instead, we will talk about this powerful book, The 48 Laws of Power, whose very first rule shook up all of politics in eggs. This book is considered so dangerous that it has even been banned in many American prisons so that no one can misuse it. Now, there are 48 rules in this book, but I won't bore you by telling you all of them. Instead, I will distill this entire book into 8 such practical and dark rules that, if you understand them, trust me, you will understand the hidden mindset of the world's smartest and high-value people, something neither our parents, schools, nor colleges teach us, and I have an open challenge for you. Just understand the first 3 rules explained in this video very carefully. If those 3 rules don't open your mind, then close the video right there because I don't want to waste even a single second of your time. Let's start with the first rule. Look, a powerful person never reveals their true intentions so that their enemies remain in the dark, and Napoleon Bonaparte fell victim to this very rule because when he attacked Russia, he thought he would easily defeat them, and perhaps he would have, but the Russian army used a different strategy. They kept their real plan hidden and spread a rumor that they were weak. Instead of fighting, they kept retreating, making Napoleon's army believe the Russians were running away in fear. In doing so, they drew them deep into Russia, which was their biggest mistake because by the time Napoleon realized his true enemy wasn't the Russian army but the deadly cold, it was already too late. And that is why, without fighting any major battle, a hidden Russian plan buried Napoleon's massive army in the snow. This is what they call conceal your intentions. Meaning, by the time your enemy understands your next move, you will have already won the game. Therefore, always reveal the least amount about yourself. But remember, just hiding your plan isn't enough. If you have no connections and no one knows who you are, then who are you hiding your plan from? And you know that without connections, there is no power. But how do you build connections? For that, understand law number 2 carefully. If you have seen the movie Pirates of the Caribbean, there is a very famous dialogue in it. Any publicity is good publicity. In the same way, this law states that whether people praise you or criticize you, it doesn't matter. The point is that their eyes should always be on you. If this sounds trivial to you, then listen closely. On one side, there is a student who studies hard for years. They earn a prestigious degree like a PhD. They work day and night so they can get a good job and live a normal life. But on the other hand, a girl comes along, does a 15-second viral dance and posts it on Instagram. The girl often makes more in a single month from one brand deal than the PhD holder earns in a whole year because this world doesn't care about your knowledge or hard work. If anything matters, it is attention. Today, the person who grabs everyone's attention in the crowd usually holds the real power and money on the internet, and it's not just about money. When people are attracted to you, connections form automatically, and those connections open doors of opportunity for you. So remember, there is a simple rule for success. Visibility is what sells. Therefore, do whatever you can to get attention. Speaking of attention, I just remembered. Yesterday I was scrolling on YouTube, and my eyes fell on a post where Acharya Chanakya says if you want power, make people dependent on you. But how do you make someone dependent on you? That is exactly what our law number 3 provides a solution for. This law states that if you want people to always respect you and never easily leave you, make them dependent on you. Become so essential that people's work stops without you. But how? Understand this with a simple example. Look, in every office or company, there is always that one tech guy or senior employee who knows the secrets of the company's servers and software that no one else knows. Now, whether he comes to the office late, takes a leave whenever he wants, or demands a salary hike, the boss cannot easily fire him. Why? Because the boss knows that if this person quits, my entire business could come to a halt. Now, that employee's real power is not just in his skills, but in the fact that people will be in trouble without him. That is why it is much more beneficial to develop a skill within yourself that no one else around you has, rather than just trying to find a place in people's hearts, rather than people's hearts. Like in every family, there is a father who, if he stops earning, shakes the entire family's life, because everyone depends on him. So remember, the day people no longer need you, that day your influence also ends. But there is a problem here. It is not necessary that the skill you have solves everyone's problems, because different people have different needs and different weaknesses. Therefore, to make someone dependent on you, you first have to understand their needs and their inner weaknesses But how will you do this? So let's understand law number 4 for this. Look, there is a cunning way to get inside someone's head and extract their biggest secret and extract. First, become their closest friend. Behave in such a way that they feel you are their biggest supporter. But deep down, keep collecting every piece of information about them, just like it happened in Alia Bhatt's movie Razi. If you have seen this movie, you would know. She goes into a Pakistani military officer's home as a daughter-in-law. She respects everyone so much and takes such good care of them that the whole family starts trusting her blindly. But when the family members are treating her like a daughter and friend, she secretly collects their military plans and secret information to send them ahead. The others kept thinking she was just a virtuous daughter-in-law of the house, but in reality she had become their biggest weakness. So remember, the person who acts the sweetest in front of you doesn't necessarily always want what's best for you. Often people pretend to be close just so they can understand us and take advantage of us. So think, if someone is truly pretending to be your close friend, how will you protect yourself from them? How do you show yourself? Well, there is only one way. Make your mind and your next move so unpredictable that all the other person's calculations fail. And this is exactly what law number 5 teaches us. This law says to make yourself unpredictable so that people feel they cannot rely on you. And this is exactly what MS Dhoni did. Remember the 2007 T20 World Cup final? In the last over, the match was stuck against Pakistan. Everyone thought Dhoni would give the ball to an experienced bowler, but surprising everyone, he handed the ball to Joginder Sharma, a bowler whom no one was even thinking about. Dhoni's unpredictable decision not only confused the batsman, but forced him to play a wrong shot, and India won the match. Throughout his career, Dhoni has been known for making such unexpected decisions. Therefore, this law states that when the opposing team cannot understand your patterns, they have already lost half the battle. So never be predictable, because when people cannot guess your next move, you are in control. And to be unpredictable, you don't always have to act smart. Sometimes appearing foolish is more beneficial, so the other person thinks you're capable of nothing, and then they get overconfident and make a mistake. And this is exactly what law number 6 teaches us. This law says play a sucker to catch a sucker. Meaning, to trap a cunning person, sometimes act like a fool in front of them so they become overconfident. The most solid example of this is Vijay Salgaonkar from the movie Drishyam. When Ajay Devgnu's character Vijay Salgaonkar presents himself as a 4th grade dropout, simple and straightforward cable operator, the cunning police officers take him lightly. And by the time they realize the man they thought was an ordinary person is actually the biggest mastermind, he has already taken control of the situation, and they are left with no evidence, and they are left in. So remember, when you make the other person feel they are smarter than you, they let their guard down, and that is the perfect moment to turn the tables. That is why sometimes appearing foolish can also be very beneficial. Now let's move on to the next rule. Law number 7 says control the options, meaning give the other person a choice. But the trick should be that all those choices ultimately work in your favor. Whether the other person chooses option A or option B, the benefit should be yours in any situation. Understand this with an example that will blow your mind. You think that in a democracy, when you go to vote, the control is in your hands, so because you choose your leader of your own free will. But many times this thought becomes the biggest mistake. For instance, suppose 2 major political parties are fighting an election, Party A and Party B. Now both parties criticize each other severely in the media. They blame each other and try to show themselves as completely different from one another. Now, some people among the general public support Party A and some support Party B, but behind this whole game are often big businessmen and powerful people who are funding both these parties from behind the scenes. Now, whether the public votes for Party A or Party B, regardless of whose government is formed, the big businessman wins because both parties contested the election on his money. Now, that businessman can easily get any tender passed whenever he wants. This big game is called the illusion of choice. The most cunning people in the world use this very rule. They give people a full sense of freedom and choices, but they set the options in such a way that the outcome always ends up in their favor. Now, for example, if you want to go to the market and you want your friend to go with you, just say to your friend, "Bro, do you want to eat a burger or pizza?" And whichever of these two he chooses, he will still be going to the market. This is what is called the illusion of choice. Law number 8. Look, there is only one secret to making anyone in this world dance to your tune. Catch hold of that fear or desire within them that they hide from the whole world. This is law number 8, which says discover each man's thumbscrew, meaning every person definitely has some weakness or another. And cunning people always look for this sore spot in others so that they can control them. Understand this with an example. Suppose there is a very arrogant and rich man who has no greed for money. Now, a wise and cunning mind will immediately realize that this man cannot be controlled by money, so it will search for his true weakness, which is often his ego. Then it will use his ego to its advantage. It will shower that rich man with false praise in front of everyone. It will boost his ego so much that, drunk on his own praise, the rich man will end up doing exactly what the other person wanted. The smartest people in the world observe exactly these kinds of individuals. They look for what each person fears the most, who hungers for money, who craves power, who is starving for cheap praise and fake validation, and who fears losing their reputation the most. If you look closely, you will surely find some weakness in every person, and that very weakness eventually becomes the key to controlling that person. Now look, this video ends here. If you want a part 2 of this video, make